That's the sound of the man working on the chain gang.
Can you hear me say it?
Keep it right there. Yeah. Come on. Sweet. Sing for me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Swaggy Vets Podcast. I'm your host, BigPenn. I got my co-host and my best friend with me, first Swaggy Veteran. What's up, my
What's
man?
going on, BigPenn? What's going on, Swaggy Vets? All our friends and family, how y'all doing out there?
Man, we got an amazing guest today. We just gonna go ahead and get right into it, y'all. We got coming to the stage, Saffron retired Vickie Briales.
That'll cook. Let me cook.
Let it cook.
Never gave.
We in here. What's going on, girl?
What's going on with y'all?
Man, living the dream.
I see. Come on, Swaggy Vets, let's get it.
Already got.
All right.
Hey, so you was in the military a long time.
I was.
24 years. Now, you and the listeners don't know you're the Army brat too. Did that have any, influence on you joining the military?
Actually, it didn't. It was like one of those things that I wanted to do because I went to Job Corps after high school. And when I came back to Columbus, Georgia, I was like, this is not the thing I want to do. I need to get out of Columbus. So I joined the Army. My dad was like, no. And I said, yes. I told him the day before I shipped out that I joined.
Now, having a father in the military, did that help instill some values and discipline in you?
It did. My parents were definitely a strong force, the yin and the yang. Hurricane, my mom was a category 5 and my dad was a category 15. And yes, they taught us about hard work. They taught us to stay on our path. As long as nothing was illegal, they was happy with that. As long as you didn't do anything wrong, didn't matter if you dig ditches or you got 16 degrees, as long as you were happy and being true to yourself.
Okay. Now, what's some lessons that you learned from your dad that still is with you today that guides you?
Man, there's so many. Like I said, the main one is really being true to yourself. And like I used to get upset about things, and my dad said, "Hey, wear the same pants. You put one leg at a time." So, do your best and try to hit all your goals. If you fail, figure out what you failed on and get yourself back up. Period, point blank. My dad was, he wasn't such a coddler kind of guy. Oh, you can do it. It's going to be okay. No, it's like, get your behind up. Oh, you fail? Get up.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a really sweet man. But when that man came in that house and the house wasn't right, God help us all.
So he was a disciplinary too.
Like I said, a long time ago, back in the 1900s, right? They had this thing called wrestling with, Wahoo McDaniel and all these guys, right? And my parents was like that match where if my mom was home and we did some craziness, she said, "Wait till daddy get home." Now my dad, but my dad was was a first son. My dad was EO. He was all these things, but he came home. He wasn't had the belt around the neck and said, "Who wants to get it first?"
Uh-oh.
There's decisions and there's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You decide not to do what your mama said, that is definitely a mistake, and you about to find out. You're gonna learn today.
So when we were talking, you said you initially just plan to do 4 years and boom, I'm done. So what changed your mind after that for you to stay?
You know what, to be honest, I started liking it. And I started, getting my niche, and I was really good at what I did. I mean, I'm doing logistics at this point now. So I've been doing logistics for 24 years, and I really started liking my job, liking the people that I was around, and I really had some good leadership that made me want to stay. Like, I can't, your first duty station, you're always nervous. Second duty station, you start feeling yourself and learning who you are as a soldier. So I was
Yeah.
happy.
So is there any defining memory? Yeah, yeah. Is there any defining memory in your early military days that may make you smile, or you're like, man, I don't know about this?
Well, a defining moment for me that made me smile is basically when I came in 782nd. The early years I was in 92nd Engineers. It's crazy. Those twos are on the end. So I had 92nd Engineers, then 782nd. So those twos always come up, and sometimes they are very lucky for me. I still have those bonds with the 92nd Engineers, and I still have bonds with 782nd folks. Now, in between those times, I can't tell you who the folks that, I don't even deal with half of those folks anymore. But 782nd, 92nd Engineers, it was the leadership, it was the people that were in, like we said, embrace the suck. We embraced the suck together, and we went through everything together, and we didn't, it was like a band of brothers and sisters, and I still have them to this day. So I'm privileged to have the family that I got now. That's how I see it, and that makes me smile. Now, things that make me shake my head, it's a lot of things that make me shake my head. Too many. So it's
Yeah,
way too many.
we're good. We'll just focus on the good then.
Yes, let's do that.
All right.
So, Vicky, you became a leader early in your career. What was the most unexpected lessons you learned about leadership?
Actually, the most unexpected thing was you can be the best leader. You can have the best intentions. But if you got one of them soldiers or three of them soldiers who don't care about nothing, or I don't care how much you can bring the food to eat, they refuse to eat. And that was one of those lessons, like, I wanted to be that leader. I can change your mind. But after a while, you learn that you can't change a person's mind if they don't want, if they don't want to learn. If they don't want to learn and they don't want to eat, you just got to let them starve because they hurting themselves. You got to keep moving on with the other soldiers who actually want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, in your 24 years, you faced some harsh obstacles. You faced sexism, racism, and some other challenges in the military. So what's your advice for breaking barriers in a male-dominant space?
Number one, know your boundaries. Know who you are when you with with black females, with any female at all. It seems like, you go through the same dirt, the same mud, but they think you had some special privileges. I don't know where they get that from, but there are things that you as a female, and I tell any female, stand strong in who you are. Period, point blank. Um, know the regulations. Know your regulations. Know what you can do and what they cannot do. And pick and choose your battles, because sometimes, you know, you running at the mouth and they running at the mouth, and then, they only see one side. You're talking to a senior recklessly, and then they just looking at you. They didn't see a few minutes ago this man or this woman just says really terrible things to you, but you can't respond like you want to respond. So know your boundaries, know the rules. Because if you know the rules, you can make them, stand back off of you. Because I had to do that a lot. Have people stand back, give me 100 feet, not 50, 100.
Right. So even with that being said, like you said, know your boundaries, but it was also a time where you got in an altercation with a NCO.
I did.
Who
Speak
crossed
spade.
boundaries, you or the NCO?
The NCO, he was terrible.
Uh, what
So
that moment
I,
teach you about respect and standing your ground?
what it taught me is number one, yes, know your boundaries.
Mhm.
I did have the incident where the man, put his hands in my face. He hated me anyway. I mean, even though we got commendables on our inspections, I'm getting AAMs, I'm getting RCOMs, he still found something. We're in the field. It's 45 days in the field in July at Fort Stewart. And he decided to put me at parade rest, which is his right. But once you start pointing at somebody and kept coming closer and he touched me, I dropped my hands. I said, "You touch me again." I gave him a warning. You touch me again, I'm going to show you what a man should have done to you a long time ago.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you love our content, and we hope you do, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Let's go.
Mm.
Remember now, I grew up in a household with three brothers. We loved WWE, WWF back in the day. And this man came, came to my personal. So we didn't have what they have now. You can call, the MPs, get them arrested, all this stuff. I knocked him in the face. I punched him in the nose and tried to dislocate his jaw. I tried to kick him to sleep. But what it taught me was sometimes you have to walk away from situations because I did go to jail.
Dang.
I did, but because of the SAR major and the leadership at that time, they said he started it, but it was excessive force because I didn't have to kick him. I said, but he's a male. What you want me to do? Let him get up and fight me? And they said yes. I was like, oh, crazy. I'm from Georgia. We don't do that. We do not do that.
Mm.
But it taught me how to, number one, walk away from things that, because I could have got him in trouble a different way, but I want, he just made me mad. And sometimes you got to control your emotions to get things across. So the biggest thing is control myself. I know how to control myself now, but back then, I was ready.
Mm. So you
I
also mentored a lot of soldiers in your 24 years. So what's the most powerful lesson that you've passed? You think you passed down to a soldier?
I think what I passed down to him is treat all your soldiers with respect, no matter if they're not the smartest, the brightest, um, the most athletic. You treat them all with respect. Know your regulations. Really know your regulations, and take your emotions out of it because this is a job. This is a profession that you chose. Now, sometimes we do get emotionally charged, but however, you have to think about what the mission is. What are you conveying to your soldiers? So some of them, like a lot of them, took that advice and they're very successful right now in the military, active duty right now. So that's what I told them. Just communication is a very important key. Effective communication and an active listener.
Absolutely. Now, you've had a couple different jobs, being in the military. Especially, when you got the 782nd, they kind of make you put on a couple different hats,
This
right?
is so true.
Yeah. And then you being an L&O for Mortuary Affairs is heavy. How was that experience?
Woo, man, that taught me a lot of things. I was like, why they choose me? I, this, I want this. I do not want this job. But there were a few 92 mics, which is Mortuary Affairs, that was in our battalion. And I do want to say to Odom, thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for helping me through that process, because when you're the LNO and you have to, process this stuff, it's hard. I mean, I still feel some things to this day, because this is a day that this soldier and or this Marine or this military person, they're not going to eat breakfast. They're not going to talk to their friends while we downrange. This is it. So I put respect on anybody that take care of our military people who pass. And I took it as an honor. And I didn't I really didn't tell a lot of people what I did, because I didn't want the pity. I just wanted to do a good job for those soldiers that needed to go home.
Mm.
So it was tough, you know. That's why I applaud anybody that take on that MOS 92 mic, Mortuary Affairs, and stay in it for 20 years. I applaud all of them. I did it for deployment, and I was about to lose my mind.
Wow. Is there any moment that gave you chills doing it?
Um, yeah, it was a few. Um, Especially in 782nd, we had a few people that passed.
Mm-hmm.
And, when one of your own, when you see him as a little cub or a little soldier, and now, we downrange and something happens, it takes the wind out of you. And like I said, when I processed anyone, I made sure that I took pride in what I did. I made sure I paid attention to detail and made sure that everything was dressed so we can send them home in the right manner. So it was a few. I hate to, and everybody, anybody that was in Alpha Company 782nd, they knew Gillick, they knew Allen, there's a few others. Matter of fact, here at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, they have a daycare named after Sergeant Stout, who was with Two Fury, and he was a chaplain's assistant. So it's like, there's memories, and I tell anybody, share those memories with your fellow soldiers or with your fellow, vets, because, we need to find out the funny stories. I saw them on that day that they was never coming back to eat dinner or go on another convoy. So,
Yeah, it's a little eerie
right,
when you hear about somebody like I was just talking to him yesterday.
right.
It kind of messes you up because we do build a certain bond when we're downrange with other people. So.
We embrace the suck together. It's hot. It's we living in a tent. There's no
Mm-hmm.
shower. There's no water. The food is nasty, and we embracing the suck together. Then all of a sudden, something happens to somebody that we know. No matter if you like them, no matter if you didn't know them, it hits you in your heart.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So I still deal with it to this day, and some are definitely, you know, I can remember the day that things happen, the last time I talked to that person, and
Hmm.
having a rant ceremony. So there it is.
Now you've got, multiple deployments. I don't want to give your age away, but you served at Desert Storm.
Hey, I can tell my age, baby. See this? You see this? 57 days, all day, every day. No Botox. No Botox. No
Hey, tell
fillers,
them.
okay? Drink.
So yeah. So you served in Desert Storm in the '90s and beyond. How do you think the military has evolved since then? Has changed over the years?
Great. More technology. You got to keep up with the times because, baby, back in the day, everything was handwritten. Handwritten. And then when we finally got a typewriter, woo, we thought we was doing something back then. And then all of a sudden, a computer showed up in this big old green box that looked like a tough box. I've been through it all. MS DOS, the 3 by 5, everything. But technology is the best thing, yeah, because some of the stuff we used to do,
So now you ain't really got to type nothing. You just scan everything, don't you?
scan or you speak, speak and let it dictate, and it corrects all, misspelled words. I'm telling you, back then you had to have a thesaurus, you had to have a dictionary, and then, if you messed up on anything, you had to start all over again.
Mm. Now, how is that? Do you think it's making soldiers lazier now, or do you feel like it can get more done in less time?
You can get things done in less time, but you're not using your brain because before you definitely had to, pay attention to detail and you had to ask questions. Like if you filling out a form and you had to, multitude of NSNs or numbers, you had to make sure those things were accurate because
Mm.
if you messed up one time, it's over. Now you got, it say and everything else. And the only thing they got to do is just plug and play. But I think sometimes you need that, something to keep your brain active because back then we had to use our brain a lot. Now, oh, only thing I got to do, ma'am, is Google, and that's it. We actually had to go to a library and look up things.
Oh yeah, you got to pull the thing out, look through the cards, do your research.
Yeah, you actually had to do some things. Like if we had the
Mhm.
MOS library. If you wanted to
Oh yeah,
learn
yeah.
something, yeah. Now everything is digital, so you just gonna go on Teams and find it and call it a day. It makes them lazy though, because like
You still you still work with the systems now, don't you, as a civilian?
I do. I work with Global Combat Support System Army. It's GCS is Army, and it's a
Hmm.
logistics system. And it's been around. We started with GCS's Army back in 2012 when it actually, say yes, the Army will take this. But that system's been around since 1972. It's called a
Whoa.
SSP. Yes, it's called a software application product, which your Budweiser, Walmart, Amazon, everybody uses it. And it was invented back in 1972 by two German inventors.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So if you wanted to, you could go work for like Amazon or Walmart or something like that, couldn't you? You'd be a
I
rock
could
star.
something like that. Yes, I could.
Yeah. So what do you think there's something about the military that civilians just don't understand?
Our camaraderie, our
Oh yeah.
language.
Hmm.
Um, I, Bob would just come to work to just come to work. We come to work, and if Pennington is missing or Jones is missing, we're gonna, find out where they at. And the civilian world, they don't care if you don't come to work. You just get fired.
They'll do no health and welfare check on them, huh?
Oh no, no, no. There, we process things different, and our problem solving is different. So, God forbid, Oh my God, the computer don't went down. Okay, well, you got other work that you could do besides,
Mm-hmm.
using your laptop. But if your laptop go down, folks, lose their mind. But for most military people, we adapt and overcome. That's the thing that we always, no matter who we are, what rank you were, we can adapt and overcome on some things.
Yeah, well, we had our good friend Cosby on the podcast, and he was telling us, when we're in the military as NCOs, the light bulb needs to be changed. You go change the light bulb, to make the mission happen. Well, he was telling us as a civilian, that's somebody's job. You got to put in a work order and do all that because that's somebody's job. I I have yet to see that. I don't even understand that yet. That's
See, and
crazy to me.
that's the crazy part. Like, we just want to get the thing done. We see
Hmm.
we see that the light bulb need to be changed. We go in the room, get the light bulbs, change it. You will Civilians will lose their mind. How dare you? And then they start running down all the PPEs you should have had on. You should have had on glasses. You should have had a vest on. Did you have the work boots on? Because you could have got electric. I mean, oh, it's a production. It is a production. So yeah, stay. Matter of fact, it's like going to the range. It says, watch your lane. That
Hmm.
Stay in your lane. Do not, how we are used to going outside of the boxes,
Oh,
figuring out things and doing what needs to be done. In the civilian world, majority of the times they want you to stay in a certain box and do not color outside those boxes.
is that hard for you being, 24-year non-commissioned officer, making stuff happen? Is that hard for you to do that?
At times, because I get in, I'll go to these units and we got to do some work. I only have a few hours with them, and I'm like, so let's go ahead and knock this out, and then I can leave at a certain time. They'll find every excuse not to do the work. They find everything. It's like,
Wow.
pick up the paper. It's like, there's paper right here. Pick it up, put it in the copier so we can make these copies.
Hmm.
So it sometimes it gets hard, and sometimes I try not to overstep my boundaries, because this is not my unit. I am not in the military no more. And if they don't care, I have to, remove that NCO thing and become Miss Vicky instead of Sergeant Briales.
Mm.
So whew, you know, especially when somebody come in there with it's Monday. Why do you look like you just woke up and threw on something? That floors me and smell like, 2 days of old backwater.
Monday, you supposed to be bright eyed and bush tail, ready to go, huh?
I mean, you ain't got to smell like some fresh cut flowers, but you can't be smelling like, 2 days of backwater. I don't understand that. You stink on a Monday, first day of the week. I don't
Yeah.
understand. I'm still trying to get used to that.
What what really messed me up? Well, I wouldn't say it messed me up, but and you were in well, you were in a little bit before we were, but Monday mornings back in the day, we had our BDUs. You got your fresh press BDUs, you got your nice shine boots. You took pride, standing tall, looking good. And I think I see soldiers nowadays, they've definitely got away from that.
Oh my God. It's like, back then, the reason why you wanted to be the sharpest, you knew your general orders, you knew your chain of command. They groomed you to become a leader. They groomed you. Hey, by the time you were a specialist, shoot, you already went to like three, soldiers of the month boys or battalion boys or
Mhm.
whatever. They wanted you to win. These jokers, gosh, I have to go to the board. Why do I have to go to the board? I don't want to. What? I mean, and I mean, they look, man, some of them, I'm not saying all, but the ones normally I run into, no pride in their clothing, no pride in themselves. And like I said, some back in the day, if you didn't want to eat, I can't force feed you.
Hmm.
I can't force feed you leadership that you don't want. And that's what's going on with this leadership now, is that you got some out here that are doing the right things, who are, who still upholding the army values. And then you got these others out here, they just here for a paycheck. I said, boy, when you come out in the civilian world, you get fired instantaneously. There ain't no, oh, I was late. Oh, I got these appointments. They'll fire you. Period, point blank. Depending on what state you in. North Carolina, they'll fire you.
Get you a quick reality check, huh?
Quick. And there's a lot of soldiers that are getting out right now. And one kid was like, "Can you vouch for me?" I said, "Oh, absolutely not. Not the work ethic you got right now. I can't. My name will be on that. You validated this? No, I did not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna put my name on it. But there are some good soldiers out there still, still holding the values, still being NCOs, still, you know, fighting the good fight. And that's the one thing you can say is like you're always gonna have bad apples, but there's a lot more good than bad. They just
Mm.
showcase the bad more now than they did back in the day. Because if we had a real bad soldier, you didn't care about the unit and all that good stuff, it's okay. They didn't put you out. They didn't move you within the battalion. They moved you into another battalion to see if you actually are that way, or you succeed and excel. Maybe, we wasn't a good fit for you. When you got over there, you became a superstar. Back then they always gave you a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Now they don't give you no chances. You out of here.
Mm.
Zero tolerance for anything. And I don't think that's a good thing, because you're throwing out good. You don't know what somebody's going through these days.
Yeah, if they'd have did that to me, I'd have been gone a long time ago. I made my fair share of mistakes in the military, so but some people saw some potential in me, and that's why I got to go as long as I did.
That's right.
Hmm.
Me too. Because I was quick to fight. I never cussed nobody out or anything, but I was ready to fight at a drop of a hat.
Hmm.
Vicky, so what was it like transitioning out the military? Like, did you struggle with your new identity?
Me, I had, like I said, I had a good role model, which was my dad. And, it was getting closer and closer to my time to transition out. So I volunteered a lot. I hung around a lot of civilians who had no relative. They never been in the military, so you have to talk different, and you have to kind of soften yourself around civilians, because we look people directly in the eye. We say what we need to say, and we say it how we need to say it. But yeah, I volunteered a lot. I did a lot of things with vets and homeless people and families. Um, I still do that to this day. So it's just, it's just a part of me. And that's coming from my parents, who always gave to the community in Fort Benning. No matter if it was, giving somebody a lunch, giving somebody, clothing, giving people money. And the money that you give, sometimes to keep the lights on. So I had great role models. My parents were, my great role models. And when I was transitioning out, you know, I had to remember, hey, folks don't know, you like this. And then now you gotta be, like the lazy river with the tube, and you just flowing down. Before it's like I'm swimming upstream. Now it's like slow it down. For me, it was easy because I was already doing this while I was in the military. So when it was time for me to get out, smooth. But for some, it's hard because all the way to the day that you about to retire or get out, you doing things, and then all of a sudden, all of that, all the all the 0630s, 1300, all of that stops because nobody knows what 1300, but some military people, the civilian people call it 1 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. It's 6:30 in the morning. Good morning. Hey, what's going on? We like this, and they like, hi. So it was easy it was truly easy for me, like really, because I was
So would you,
ready.
would you recommend that approach to other veterans volunteering?
I think it humbles you as a veteran because sometimes we see people out on these streets and we look at them as less than, but you don't know what that person went through and where they at. A lot of them, if they have mental health issues and they don't have a home to go to, they out in the streets. So yes, I would say try to volunteer somewhere, old folks home, um, the youth, the youth. Let me tell you about young people. Don't do no promises that you cannot keep. And in the military, we always say, hey, if I say I'm going to do something, my word is my bond. So for those who have a heart for the elderly or youth, go out there and volunteer. There's plenty of them, but don't lie to them and tell them straight up. Because if you lie to them, they will never trust you again, ever. That's my learning thing. I
You know,
don't lie.
especially kids, those
Kids,
teenage
te-
adults,
teenagers,
younger.
yes, teenagers and preteens, don't lie to them because they used to have a thing called a Tar Heel Challenge. While I was still in, I used to do that. Um, and then they moved because they used to do it on Fort Bragg, and then they moved out, and it was difficult for me to do it. But like I told those young ladies, I said, hey, I'm here. However, if you're not listening to the discipline, they like it. You'd be surprised. They like it, and if you stay true to that path, you have no problems from them at all. And I'm talking about the baddest of the bad. People don't gave up on them, and then it's that's what I was saying before about mentoring. Like you see somebody that everybody gave up on, and then what happens? They join the military. Now they are sergeant first class. It's like you see this kid grow from being terrible, horrible, to being this responsible, this different person. So when you see those transitions, it does your heart warm. You lose some, you win some, but the ones you win makes you happy.
What do you think that what do you think the biggest mistakes veterans make when they enter into the civilian world?
Not planning. The biggest thing is not planning. If you
True.
planning on getting out or retiring and you about to retire, stop playing with it. Go ahead and make your plan. Where you going to live? What kind of job, if you want to get a job. These are the things that nobody, folks don't worry about. And now all of a sudden it's 6 months, 90 days, now it's 30 days. And now you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. If you if you veterans that are planning on getting out because you hate what's going on in the military, I get it. Have a plan. If you do not have a plan, it's going to be difficult for you to transition out, because what happens is you get out here and you think you can get a job right away. And sometimes you don't get a job for 6, 7 months, a year. Now what you doing? You're not, and then you didn't even, the thing is, I'm going to school. If you're planning on going to school, getting out the military, when are you talking about? You're talking about September? You're talking about, January? When are you going to start? You need to go ahead and put in all your applications for everything that you need to do. Planning is the biggest problem with vets, no matter if they're retiring, no matter, because some vets, when they retire, they still think they're a sergeant major. You're not a sergeant major no more. You're a Mr., Knucklehead. You Mrs. Knucklehead. Nobody know. Now your name is Frank. Now your name is Susan. Nobody cares if you was in the military for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I agree. I'm reluctant to even tell people I did the military. I'm mostly quiet when I'm in when I'm in, my civilian jobs. It's not like it even matters really.
Right.
You're
They just,
working with them.
they just know you're John, and they like your work. They like your work ethic. They like how you do your job. And that's the main thing. If you planning on getting a job, don't lie on your resume. Whatever you do, do not lie on your resume. If back in the 1900s, you could probably lie and then you learn on the job. However, these technical jobs these days, you will have to have some technical skills, because they will find you out. They ask you to do the most simplest thing in a process, and you can't do it, you won't get hired.
Unless you tell them you're like a regional manager at Circuit City. I mean, who they gonna call in Circuit City or
Yeah,
Blockbuster? I was the regional manager for Blockbuster.
that's a good
They
way.
don't
Yeah,
exist.
but if
Or the
you try to,
Dunder Mifflin Paper Company.
yeah, Radio Shack. You was the
Yeah,
manager of
radio.
Radio Shack. But that's the thing. Some people try to lie on their resume, especially certain jobs like supply technician, or property book and stuff like that. Everybody say they know how to do something until they put you to a test. So if you're gonna learn everything that you need to learn while you're in. If you need that Sigma 6 and you trying to do something else, please, by all means, tailor your resume to the job that you're trying to get,
Mm-hmm.
because that is
And
imperative.
I know you've seen the system change so much. I know somebody who comes in and really don't know what they talk about. You could spot them out pretty quick, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Especially when
Mhm.
your resume has said so many things on there. You're like, okay, well, hey, can you go ahead and do this one process? Where I start? Oh, wait, this is like a 5-minute process, but yeah, you can sniff them out real quick. And you're like, why did you even apply for this job and you're not even qualified?
So even okay in your workforce, but there was a time where your communication skills hurt you while you was working with the military, as far as like your military background coming out.
You know, I learned how to play politics out here in the civilian world. So I curve my I curve it, because it's like, hey, I asked y'all to do this like 3 weeks ago, and you still have not done it yet. Why? Why am I still? So it's like, okay, you're telling me, well, you've been here 3 weeks and you haven't done anything. Wait a minute. I done. emailed you. I done wrote it on a notepad. I have done everything that I'm supposed to do as a civilian. I can't force your soldiers to do anything. I can't put a formation together and say, hey, y'all got to do this. That's the one thing that I was like, whew, thank God for emails and CCs and back CCs because that saves everything nowadays. Technology. If you're talking to somebody online, if y'all are working on any project, please CC and back CC your supervisors because sometimes folks will lie on you.
So you've 24 years, then you got out and you wanted to stay doing logistics with the GSS Army as a civilian. What made you want to do that?
I was like, I still wanted to learn logistics, and logistics is a living, breathing entity that always changing. So with supply chains, it changes all the time. Regulations change, processes change. So you're always going to be on your toes. So that's what I love about the job that I took and the MOS that I had because it's always evolving and it keeps me reading my policies, learning more about the supply chain. Seriously, I love my job.
So you've been mentoring pretty much your whole career, and now that you're out, you probably mentor now. What's the most rewarding moment as a mentor? Can you give us one?
The most rewarding one was when I was facilitating a class for GCS Army, and I had a older person that was in my class that wasn't really tech savvy, and when that person we stayed at the class and went through everything and walked her through everything. Now here it is, years later, Miss Thing is in it, in it to win it. So mentoring
Good.
somebody that was humble enough to allow me to teach them and the functionalities about something was the greatest. Like it made you, like, wow, somebody actually listened to me and wow, she actually is doing this thing. And she still calls me out every now and again to ask me questions, but for the most part, she is running the show now. She's now a supervisor where she's at now. And
That's
I'm so
awesome.
happy. Yes, first she was just a warehouse person, and now she is the supervisor. And she busting it wide open.
Well, I think in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I know we had talked a little bit about you telling, hey, don't lie on your resume. Make sure you conform your resume to something that you want to do. So what do you think some more advice you could give to a veteran looking into getting in logistics?
Well, like I said, there's so, you know, logistics is a very broad field. And, you can go into procurement, you can go into, it's just so many things. So find what is your niche. You got to find what your niche is. However, they do have supply chain classes. They have degrees for it. So you can go out there and get into procurement. You can get out there and be a project manager. There's many ways. And when people are getting out, take advantage of all of the programs that they got for you getting out. Just don't go home and say ain't nothing else to do. Take advantage of those programs because some of those programs will get you a job, will land you a job, especially
Oh
with
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When I was transitioning, I did all them little classes.
I tell anybody. I mean, when I initially first got out, they didn't really have all of that, you know, and Folks that got out prior to me, they didn't have all of that. So now they have it. Take advantage of the things that they have now. If you're still in the military right now, and you're trying to get out, go ahead and take those classes. Go ahead and look at all those logistic programs out there, because they do have logistic programs and they love military people. Um, I I shouldn't shout them out, but I'm gonna shout them out anyway. Northrop Grumman have internships. A lot of these companies have internships for logistics, and
Mm.
they looking for the brightest, the youngest, the brightest, who is willing to learn, and they will teach you. Only thing you got to do is eat now.
It just ain't nothing to it but to do it, huh?
That's it.
So if you was the person, you every veteran had to come see you before they got out. What's one leadership skill to every transition veteran that you? What would it be?
Active listening skills and communication.
Mm.
Don't hear what you think they're saying. Actually listen to what they're saying to you. Active listening skills is a great thing, and community being having great communication skills,
Hmm.
because the one thing that they do is communicate, and they want to hear your idea. Sometimes they want to hear your ideas. So going out to these companies, going out to wherever you're going to, you have to put your best foot forward. When you go to these, things got to look right. So if you are a male, your shoes and your belt need to match. Okay, that's just one of those things that they should be teaching you as far as going to interviews and how you should be dressing
Hmm.
for interviews, and how you should shake somebody's hand. And with civilians, not military people so much. If you're looking at working at a contract, most of us are um, vets. However, there are people that are in those supervisor positions that have never been in the military. You shaking their hand like you about to break that thing, it's intimidating to some. So soften up your grip. Learn how to talk to people, not directly at people, but talk to people so they can get to see you, because they're always asking, you know, what can you bring to the company? What special skills do you have? So communication is a good skill. Problem solving is definitely a good skill, but active listening is the best skill.
Yeah, when I went to the oil fields, the manager of the company that I worked for, he never been in the military, and all his guys that work for him were non-military except for one guy. And I went to him. I was like, "Yes, sir. No, sir." And every little thing he needed me to do, I accomplished. And just like you said, looked him in the eye, shook his hand good, and then he was telling the other guy he's like, "There's something about him, something different." And he looked at me and said, "It's the military. That's what they teach us. To conduct ourselves a certain way." So it made a good impression, and I contribute that to my upbringing, and the military helped me out with that.
Yes, sir. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so Vicky, going back to your volunteering, which you do a lot of, uh, has that been an eye opening experience with dealing with the homeless and veterans?
Yes. I mean, a lot of the stigma towards veterans and homeless is that they drinking it up, shooting it up, snorting it up, and 95, 5% of them do that, but a lot of them, have a lot of mental health issues. And like here at Fort Bragg, there's not enough there's not enough facilities here for those that are homeless, and the ones that they got to get to that facility before a certain time because you won't get a bed. So now you don't get that bed, you out here on the streets. And this goes for families. There's a lot of families out there that are homeless. There's a lot of women. Nowadays, it's more women out here now than I've ever seen before that are veterans that have true mental health issues, but they don't have an address to get their medicine. They don't have a steady place. And that's one of those things that hopefully in the near future we can fix because there's a lot of empty buildings here in Fayetteville. There's a lot, but there's a lot of red tape, a lot. And that's, those things you still got to push through. So ain't failing, ain't trying to fall short on no goals. You still, help when you can help. And vets, I'm telling you now, go to these what do they call community service. Go out here and see what you can do. Just a little bit. Now I'm not saying you can, you have to have $5.6 billion, but making packets, hygiene packets, little soap, little, little this, little that, toothpaste, and put it in a Ziploc bag and hand them out. You ain't got to, always be with a big company to get things. Do it on your own. We always take charge. Let's take charge. So that's what I do.
So if you
And
can
it's,
also, if you could give one piece of advice to soldiers, to a soldier that's beginning their military career, what would you tell them?
listen, use your active listening skills. If you're not on the range and it's not hurting anybody, sometimes listen, and everything is not always a combative type thing. I don't have to like you to mentor you to make sure that you do the right thing. I think that's the biggest issue with the military now is everybody want to be everybody's friend. We want to be friends. And then when the friend is telling you to do some work, now we can't do any work. So please, please, please stick to the basics. Don't do anything else. Stick to the basics and you'll be fine.
Is there any special model or rule that carried you through your toughest times?
Well, there's a couple of them, but the one my dad always told me was, you know, they can only say no. It only can last but so long. If I'm out here in the rain, you got to be out here in the rain. So it ain't gonna last that long. Trouble don't last always. Push through it. I push through it. I push through a lot of things, but you can get frustrated, you can get angry, but still push through it and keep your discipline about yourself. That's the one thing I had to remind myself who I was and be true to myself.
I think one model that I had that actually BigPenn had sent me a patch for was embrace the suck.
Yeah, we always used to say that embrace the suck.
Yeah.
The suck is going to be there. I mean, think about it. There's not a deployment that I ever went on that I was like in this nice hotel somewhere and everything was beautiful and we had these marble floors. No, every time we be the first ones in and we're sleeping in a tent on a cot maybe or we're sleeping in a vehicle until everything comes. You got to embrace it.
Yeah, you're right. I think one thing that it taught me was to remain adaptable. Like you said, the the suck gonna come. You know, it's always gonna be there. So you might as well still get the job done.
You know what else? Military people, we adapt and overcome. We're like chameleons. You can drop us in the middle of anywhere, we'll figure it out, and then continue on moving and making sure everything is dress right dress. That's the one thing I can see about us military people that we do.
Hey,
I'm more like a fire breathing dragon.
Okay, well, go ahead and scorch the earth, scorch it.
So, Vicky, if there's one thing that you want to be remembered by, what would it be?
Oh man, that I have a heart and I give from my heart. I'm loyal and I'm disciplined, but I give from my heart.
And that NCO's gonna remember you pack a punch.
whoop, there it is.
That is so true. You know, me at my young age at 57, I try not to engage myself in getting that angry, because if I get that angry, we have problems. So, I still got this. You see these knuckles? These ain't, cute little girl knuckles.
I see.
So, yeah. Pow pow.
I
Pam
see.
pam.
Hey, to caveat what you were talking about at volunteering, we went to the VFW and the American Legion. Well, I think it was American Legion, right, John? They had programs for homeless veterans.
Yes.
So they would house a veteran for 90 days, help them get on their feet. So we're trying to encourage these veterans to get out here and volunteer at their local VFW, at their local American Legion, because they actually have some good programs out there for veterans.
Yes, sir. They do. And it's like, we got a couple of them that's right up the street from where I live at. And then, when I look for them later on at night, they're not there. And I'm like, man, where do you be going? He said, hey, we adapt and overcome. Sometimes they go into the wood line and got their whole little camp out there. Some of them prefer to live out in the woods versus, and the only thing you can do is the ones who want to eat, the ones who want to get help, and the ones who still want to be out there, still treat them like a human being and not a pariah.
Vicky, if you had 60 seconds to inspire a struggling veteran, what would you say?
If you're struggling, get help. Get help. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay not to have everything together. Get help. And if you need help, there's places that you can go and you can call the 1-800 numbers that's out there for us. So that's the one thing I say. Always try to get help. That's the bottom line. Don't be afraid to get help.
Whoop, there it is.
Yeah, Vicky, I appreciate you for coming on the Swaggy Vet Podcast.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know,
you, gentlemen. I appreciate you. I would do the same thing, but it sound different. The sound might be, echo different. I really appreciate you, and I thank God that y'all doing the things that you do. I really
Mm.
appreciate y'all.
Well, we can't do it without an amazing individual like yourself, contributing to it. So we thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to the Swaggy Vet Nation.
Absolutely.
When
Because
y'all
you
start
are a Swaggy vet.
when y'all start going international, I was like, yeah, I remember when they used to just have that little bit of this, and now y'all, gonna go worldwide, baby. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, worldwide.
yeah, so everyone out there, if you want to continue to hear some of this content for veterans, please like, comment, and subscribe. Keep it swaggy.
Stay swaggy, stay strong. Peace.
Peace. Thank you.